Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an excellent game to share with you from the Top Chess Engine Championship Season 18. Played a few years back, 2020. A Superfinal game. On the white end, Leela Chess Zero, playing against Stockfish. So at the time, we were looking at a Stockfish 12. On board, we have a Bogo-Indian Defense. And with knight b to d2, we have the Grünfeld variation. Okay. This game doesn't really start until move 9, the usual case with these Top Chess Engine Championship games. The game starts from a specific position, and this here is that position after h4. The first real move we have with this game is g6. There's a serious threat connected with h4. Pawn on h4, king rook still on its home square. We have a slightly more involved version of a Greek gift sacrifice up our sleeve. So if black is not attentive to this, let's say develops the queen knight, let's see what this actually looks like. Knight hops into g5, and white says you remove one piece, well, you'd activate another. This is a winning attack. Moving forward, can drift your pieces towards the king side. That's one way forward for white. And if the king tries to hide, it will not hide for long. We will soon be delivering mate. Even if the knight is captured, we could seal off the king's path, queen corner pocket soon enough. Okay, in this one, we do have the defense against the Greek gift, and it is g6. And from here it's castles. White is not looking to work along the h-file, peel that one open for the rook. Nope. h4 has provoked a couple dark square weaknesses. Leela may be saying, let's get some king safety in, and I'm now just a moment away from having a convenient defender over my most important pawn. From here, knight c6, knight b3, some competition between the queen knights over d4. Tension remains in the center here with the c and d pawns. Stockfish captures on h4. What's the story if the tension is released on d4? A couple ways to take here. I want to touch on each one briefly. In the case of knight takes d4, we would be recapturing with our less central knight and playing this position here. In the case of c takes d, we would not be recapturing on d4. Rook e1 is a fine follow-up. The problem with taking on d4 here, well, in the end, you would lose that big e5 pawn. Okay, in this game, what do we have? It is bishop captures h4. Follow-up is bishop to h6. Now, this move, knight takes bishop, seems attractive. This is not an ordinary bishop. This is a good bishop. Without that good bishop around, these dark square weaknesses are likely more exploitable. A downside in capturing the dark square bishop is that white would be activating the black queen. Leela says, no thanks, I'll leave you in a restricted state. We're just simply developing. Hitting the rook, next up activating the king rook. Now the tension is resolved on d4. Let me throw this position to you as a pop quiz. What do you think Leela's next move is here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, in the game, it's queen c2. Leela is down 2 pawns, not recapturing on d4. We're going to play around this pawn for a bit. This pawn is in fact poison. If you take on d4, black would take, and after you recapture, that king knight is not around defending your king side. Black would have a beautiful tactical shot here. Bishop takes f2. With the follow-up, queen h4. Check, knight's hit, bishop's hit. Okay. We are not, in this game, capturing on d4. Development instead. Rook's connected. Leela's down 2 pawns, but has a lead in development. Still a few moves away. Team Black from having the rooks coordinated. They're connected. Follow up here. release the tension on c4, taking with the bishop. Once this rook is on the d file, we'll have direct pressure over d4. Knight b6 follows. And from here, rook a to d1 is played, getting that last piece involved. A question I had for myself here, why not preserve this bishop? Thing is, you preserve the bishop, this knight gets to d5, and is this bishop any better than the knight? This knight is looking like a best piece for Team Black. So Leela is, in short, prepared to allow this exchange. Rook a to d1 it is. Bishop d7. And you could take on d4 here. Leela has a different idea in mind, though. The knight goes to c5. Not necessarily with the idea to take on the b7 square, as we will soon see. After rook to c8, we have b4 here. Now, why is this b pawn not captured? I mean, you capture the b pawn, hit the queen, and next up you're looking at a fork. What's the issue with that? Well, let's have a look at it. If knight takes b, and then knight d6, black would have an only move, and you can be sure Stockfish would easily find this. This here is the move, swiping the defender of the knight. Knight takes knight, queen takes knight. And in the case of knight takes rook, well, there goes your king shelter, double isolated pawns, and in the end, black wouldn't even be down material. We're looking at a knight and 2 pawns versus rook imbalance. And white still has to sort out this pin. Hit 3, defended 1. Okay. We do not have in this game knight captures b7. Instead, it is b4. Knight takes bishop, queen takes, and bishop to e7. So still no knight takes b7 here. Different idea in mind by Leela, and that is knight to e4. This was the big idea. The queen knight could get there as fast as 2 moves, but in this game it took 3. Now, why is this the case? Well, when it was on d2, there was always a pawn around at the time boxing out the knight, so that d pawn didn't leave until the knight was already on the b3 square. This is the dream post, right behind the most valuable pawn, coordinating really well on these 2 holes, d6 and f6. Now, in playing this move, white is vulnerable to a tactic. Stockfish follows now with knight takes b4. Pop quiz. How would you respond here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, are we capturing on d4 and allowing a fork? Queen and rook? Are we going to sacrifice the queen, capturing the rook, and then the knight and playing this imbalance? None of the above. Now, I should mention, before I go any further, right around this point at the time, Stockfish was considering this about even. Stockfish 17 today recognizes that queen takes knight is in fact a winning idea, sacrificing the queen for a knight and the all-important better bishop. Without that better bishop, look at how much of a monster this guy becomes, ready to pounce on either square. No stopping this guy. What's tried here is f5. If black plays in a different way, let's say activates the bishop, this knight gets in here and black can easily experience a problem on this h7 square for one. You could play knight to g5 here, threatening mate with just the minors. The h-pawn could fall in many lines and we could have a mating net along the h-file. So in a way, in this game, black, by playing f5, is allowing some lateral defense. Knight hops into f6. This square is available, but not appealing at the moment. Knight g5 in some cases. The king barely has a square. He hides in the corner for right now. And Leela says, no thanks. I don't want your rook. My knight is better. It's not a 3-pointer. What adds value to this knight? Well, it's a 6th ranked knight. It sits on a hole, has some support by a pawn, can't be easily extracted. There's no piece that can remove this knight. It'd have to come as a sacrifice now. Those are a few things to kind of chew on. These are what add some value to this piece. The idea is to focus on this bishop. How do you get out of the pin? You have to move your rook, both rooks up like this, and now, in the end, your back rank is weakened. So even if black gets out of the pin, you're still, in a way, in the pin. Queen c8 and then a bishop move, you're getting hit with rook d8, and your queen is toast. Maybe your king is going to get mated. Black is in a giant knot. There's no way out. Follow up now b5 essentially freezes the a and b pawns. If black tries to get rolling with a passer, hang on, b6 is there, kicking the defense of d7. What's played in this game? b6, this rook has a square to move about on. There's no progress here. A lot of shuffling by black from this point on. There's nothing to do. From here, small improving moves. There's no rush. Black can't do anything in the meantime, so let's get off of an open rank. In case this guy leaves, we're not going to have to deal with any checks. All right. The shuffling approach for black, what else is there? And look at these monsters. 10 points in black's camp on the king side. Don't go away from the f7 square. That would be mate. Just the minors. Crushing. Black is definitely missing a dark square bishop. All comfortable pieces, all stable squares on these dark squares. Okay, from here, more shuffling by black, some shuffling by white as well, and eventually we do see some progress. I'm not sure why this happens in these computer games. Tough to make some sense of the shuffling moves. f4, on the other hand, we have e5 now secure. And finally, Leela goes in, makes some progress with a sacrifice on e6. Bishop takes, we're getting to the back rank. In this game, it's rook captures knight. Let me throw this one too as a pop quiz. How would you respond here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, in the game, it's knight captures bishop. It's important to capture in this way. If you take with the rook, you would be saying you're okay trading a pair of rooks. You shouldn't be. Here's something to chew on. Checking out the quality of the rooks here. White has 2 active rooks. A completely open file, good coordination between them. And black's rooks are passive. They do not function well. Neither black rook sees a single square in white's house. Best is to take with the knight. Next, move the knight, and once more we're ready to go, getting to that back rank. The king tries to now escape to the f7 square. King f7 it is. I should point out, instead of king to f7, if the knight is captured here, we could go straight in for this check. And in the event of rook f8, we would have bishop captures rook. We don't have to take this queen right away. And next up, we have a discovered check. This is a winning attack for Leela. Okay, no rook captures knight here. It is king f7, follow up rook d8, and from here queen c5 is played. The queen has an eye on f8, and it's important she watches over that square. If she goes somewhere else, for instance c4, we would have a really nice mate. Mate in 2 with rook f8 and knight g8. That's a pretty one. Okay, in this game we have queen c5, knight takes h7, we have an eye on g5 now, rook e8, and flashy move here, e6 flicked in. All right, what are we supposed to do here? Well, first of all, rook captures pawn is played. If king captures pawn, that's going to drop the rook. You could take the rook right away, maybe flick in a check first. In the case of king e7, there's a check with the bishop, and next up, we could get the rook. And if the king goes to g8, this is soon going to lead to mate. Knight f6 check, take a rook, take a queen, game over. Okay, in this game, after e6, we have rook captures pawn, knight g5 check, 2 options for the king. If you go to e7, you lose the queen to a skewer. King f6 in this game. Now rook f8 check. Queen captures rook is played here. The only other option, king e7, is going to lose the rook. The attack continues. Black is toast. So the try here, sacrifice the queen for the rook at this stage. And black is still in a knot. 6th rank rook has to stay right where it's at. 7th rank rook has to stay on the 7th rank. If this rook leaves the 6th rank, we're going to have rook d6. You have to return, rook captures rook for mate. If this guy moves away from the 7th rank, we get into d7, and we have 2 mate 1 threats. 1, 2. So rook captures bishop here, you stop this mate, but check out that one for checkmate. Another fancy mate with the minor pieces. Okay, some more shuffling by Team Black, and eventually the black rook decides on moving from the 7th rank in this one. Some shuffling by white as well. Rook c4 is played here. If black continued to just shuffle, I should point out, you could at any point swipe this rook and still be winning, but for whatever the reason, it's not played straight away. Eventually the rook leaves the 7th rank, and now we go in for this mate threat on f7. The idea, a check, swipe the f pawn. This is completely winning though. Rook a4 is played here. If king takes knight, there would follow bishop h6, and you're going to win the rook next. Rook a4 in this one. Leela at this point up the 2 minor pieces. King f3 is as far as this one goes. The game ends here in white's favor by the TCEC win rule. So, what did you think of this one? Anyhow, feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.